We're back.
So what I loved about this chart was just to show how far ahead. Several comments from people that watched that open house video. They said they loved it.
Tell the girls thanks for the check, by the way.
I asked those girls, both of them, twice on my way up to do it. I'm headed up to Port Charlotte in about a half an hour. Got anything?
Yeah.
Asked them before. Nope.
That's okay.
Hell no.
I don't need $3,000.
So what I always loved about this chart is to show how far ahead we are, and then, but what they don't show at every time Gary Keller draws this is this is our data compared to everybody else, second to none, right? I mean, crazy. They do everything they can to catch up, and they'll never will. But Zillow has this much data.
God forbid they.
I'm not convinced we can win this war.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the consumer app.
Ultimately, they're going to be the competition for a long time. They're not going to go anywhere. It's not like we're going to take over that space.
Gary Keller talks about taxis are still in existence, but when you think of transportation other than your own, you think of Uber and Lyft, right? Zillow and Redfin are going to be Uber and Lyft. The question is who's going to be left here?
Yeah.
You know?
And what can we do besides having the data to enhance the customer experience so that we, if nothing else, we're at least a boutique provider.
I think the two things that we have is the face-to-face, the fiduciary. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're still a person, and there's a huge demographic that still wants to work with a person. Do I care someday if I drive up to a McDonald's drive-through and there's not a human being in the building, except doing the cooking? Probably. Do I care if it's a robot giving me my food and taking my money? Probably not. Some people care about that stuff, right? But so I think there will always be fiduciaries, but the ones that aren't going to last are the ones that are not becoming tech-enabled agents, The ones that are just going to do it the old way.
Do it the old way or not differentiate themselves from
Here's what's happening. I haven't seen MREA 2 yet, the new book, but the conversion ratios on our own database. Our database is not what it's worth to us, what it used to be, because we're losing people. They're taking it away from us slowly. So, matter of fact, I was talking to James Shaw about this at Bowl, because I went up to him and I said, hey, whatever happened to the 12-2? For every 2 people in your database, you'll get 12 transactions. For every 12 people in your database, you'll get 2 transactions. One being a referral and one being direct business, right? He says, well, several things happened. This was written. This rule, the 12-2 rule. Mm-hmm. This was written when the average person moved every 5 to 7 years. Well, now the average person nationally is moving every 10 years, right? So obviously there's going to be less ratio here. But plus we're losing people to Zillow and Redfin because the consumer wants information now, and they're getting it from Zillow and Redfin. Did you know that they have an application? And our consumer app is going to do this too. Did you know that their application, and I just learned this. Let's say you work in Port Charlotte, what you do, and you live in Arcadia. And your phone recognizes that you're tracking your GPS, knows that you're traveling between Arcadia and Port Charlotte every day. It starts showing you properties for sale between Arcadia and Port Charlotte because it's assuming that you want to live somewhere between Arcadia and Port Charlotte.
And I can see where I can get that data because it's constantly collecting your whereabouts based on GPS. And it's just like, my wife gets in there, just sits down in her car at her daughter's house, which is in Orlando. And her iPhone says, "You want directions home?" Because it knows that's where she usually goes when she sits down in her car.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling. So these I guess Zillow is an aggregator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Redfin's an aggregator, more powerful now than it was before, because now they're getting listings for their buyer agents because they just bought OfferPad. Were you surprised that I thought Bold was going to have more technology wrapped into it? They said that Bold 2.0 was going to have more technology in it. We don't use a lot of technology in Bold, do we?
No. Yeah, I kind of heard that we were going to do a lot of command stuff.
Yeah. We really did.
And I still am in a position where I feel like I don't know what I don't know about command. And,
are you going to that class next Thursday?
I'm pushing.
You won't be here.
I won't be here. I know. It's the thing. I'm coming back on Thursday. I wish I was going. But the last time I went to a class on command, I got a lot of, 20,000 foot stuff, which I already know.
Yeah.
And and I'm adding contacts to it.
Yeah.
But I haven't really done it. I haven't gotten it down so that it's all cleaned up. And every time I go to go, okay, let's go in here and do something with it. That's not working. You can't get there from here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's start a marketing campaign. Well, MailChimp is not the thing now, and we don't know what it is, so we can't do that.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, now our contract with .loop is over, so we're gonna go to DocuSign.
Yeah. And that, I've used a couple of different e-sign applications, and this is which button do you push? What does it look like on the page? It's really easy. That part of it's really easy. Yeah. The part that needs to be, because I think that the real value in command for us at this point, just individually as individual agents, is the ability to create a marketing plan and get it working automatically is number one. And then, of course, the part where it becomes the CRM that guides your transactions. Yeah. But you know what? We're supposed to hire, somebody when we get that busy anyways,
right?
So it's like I'm not even that worried about the transactional part of it. I'm worried about, I'm supposed to be contacting people this many times. I need to wake up in the morning and have it. Here's the 7 people you need to call.
Yep.
And don't forget to send these 2 cards out, and then I can go on about my day.
Yep.
Here's a list of expireds, or whatever it is I'm supposed to be getting a hold of. Here's your A's through Z's or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to do too, and I think it's going to, right?
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah.
And then I go, am I holding back? When I should just be going in and trying to dive in that stuff myself.
Well, I was talking to a couple.
And I know we're supposed to be doing it, and I keep finding it hard to organize myself enough to do it right, do it properly. This morning I was all set. I'm going to spend the first 3 hours in the morning, like James was saying. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go in, got my expireds and my people to call. I got my list of people to prepare. Got my list of folks to call in my database. Then I'm going to call expireds. Then then I'm going to do my follow-up later on. So from 9 to 12, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. Well, there was an inspection yesterday, and the water wasn't turned on the property. And we called the utility, and the utility said, "Oh yeah, the water is on," but we tried again, and the water wasn't on. So I had to go over to the property and start digging, and before you know it, it's 11 o'clock.
Well, yeah. Imagine saying to those people, "I'm sorry, that's my lead gen time."
Yes. Sorry, I've got to go in my bunker.
Yeah, I've got to go in my bunker. You're gonna have to respect my.
This is a property that's been on the market for 470 days, so I don't really want to get it sold.
I love the theory, and that's what we have to talk about. But like, I was talking to Kim Sasser today, one of our new agents. Do you know Kim?
That name sounds so familiar, so I must know her.
And she came to me and she says, you know what? I can't get my head in the game. I'm all over the place. What do I do? And I said, there's only one. You're not time blocking, and there's only one. So she goes, yeah, but just to your argument, what if I time block and an emergency comes? Well, then you have to shift your time. And you know what they tell us in leadership? So I'll get back to Kim. They said, listen, if your activities change, you're forced to change your goals because of your activities, you got to change your activities. And if that means in my case I'm doing 3 hours of lead gen and I get pulled out to do a water thing like you just did, and that takes 2 of my 3 hours, I got to make those. They want to, in reality, make those 2 hours up at the end of the day. Who does that? Who does that? But like what I told Kim is, you got to sit down and look at your calendar, and you have to block out 9 to 12. You're working on your business. If that's lead gen, if that's networking, if that's cleaning up your database, that's all you do. That's your bunker. We'll get back to going on the water appointment in a second. From 1 to 2, you're returning phone calls. From 3 to 4, you're doing your paperwork, or 2 to 4, I'm sorry, you're doing your paperwork. And from 4 to 5, you're returning phone calls again. So just going to change your voicemail every day. It says, hey, this is Kim. It's Thursday, July 18th. Your call's important to me. I'll be in appointments all day long, but I'll be returning phone calls between 12 and 1, and then again between 4 and 5. Set the expectation. She says, yeah, because she was telling me people get pissed if I don't call them back right away. You set the expectation. Your greeting says you're going to call them back between 1 and 2, and then 4 and 5, but you damn well better call them back.
And of course, and we can go down the road of why that will and won't work a million places. But one example is that for instance, here I'm dealing with an issue it's been brought to my attention by an agent, but that other agent has a squirrely client on the other end who's getting pissed off. Now the only people who are interfacing is me, the agent, and then the other agent who's also been pulled off track for this issue. And I'm trying to explain, well, you see the buyers and the sellers in Canada, and dealing with the utility down here, and of course I don't have account access, so I got to deal with the person in Canada who then has to call the utility, and then we have to make an appointment, and they have to call me and see if I'm available at that time. And in the meantime, your client doesn't see any of this going on, so they just think, why the hell isn't this guy here in 15 minutes? So, if I set the expectation that I make phone calls back between 1 and 2, and again between 5 and 6, her client is never going to see that and go, oh, that expectation has not been set 3 levels back. You know what I'm saying?
You're absolutely
I could set that expectation for the other agent, but in the meantime, she's got a customer with a fire, and she don't care about when my callback time is.
That is true. You're right. There's that argument, and then there's the people, for lack of a better word, in our business that just say, I don't give a fuck. Well, that's why I hired somebody else to do that stuff, because I can't be putting out fires. That's not making me money.
And again, hiring an admin can probably handle a lot of those fires for you.
Well, that's why Gary Keller's always believed your first hire is going to be an admin.
It makes a lot of sense. And it's got to be somebody who's a real.
You got to hire an admin, somebody that's going to take the to-do list away from you. Right? Because you get your 20%, which is lead gen, lead follow-up, appointments, negotiating contracts, and script practice.
And then if they're going to stick their nose in my door, once and go, what do you want to do about that sprinkler system? I can give them a 3-word answer, and they go take care of it. Instead of making it doesn't phone call.
I was never a great single agent. I never was. I killed it when I hired my first assistant. Killed it. And then she left, and then I hired my second assistant, and did even better, because a woman did everything but go get my dry cleaning.
And especially if you're not an organized person, number one. And I remember when I did, and I'm terrible as far, I've always been terrible as far as organization. I mean, it was written on every report card I ever got. In fact, I actually had a carton, one of those little pint cartons of milk half pint cartons of
Yeah.
milk that you got in school.
Yeah.
I had one rot in my desk when I was in elementary school, and everybody in the school was wondering, why does that room smell? Well, I was the smelly kid with the milk rotting in his desk. But getting back to it, I remember when I first started working at Northwestern Mutual as a life insurance agent, and I was 23 or whatever, and one of the guys that hired us was telling me the scariest thing is when you hire an admin and all of a sudden you're sitting at your desk and it's like, shit, now I have to go out and sell stuff because I got nothing else to do.
Well, that's
and
true.
a lot of times, a lot of us, I take comfort very often when I don't feel like talking to people in pushing paper.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that does to your mind, right? It says, oh my God, now I'm paying this girl. Back in the day, it was, $13, $14 an hour. Oh my God, I got to get out there and do something. I got to pay this kid $13 an hour.
Yeah. All of a sudden you got to, maybe it's a good thing.
Well, it forces you to do things. It forces you to do things. But the cool thing is, this whole cliche about got to get comfortable doing the things that are uncomfortable. Not if you hire the right assistant, you don't.
Yeah.
But then again, the assistant is, there is a position for people that hate picking up the phone that weighs 400 pounds, which is, you put 100 agents in a room, it's going to be 99 of them.
Right.
Those are the people that go and hire ISAs, inside sales agents.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, even my job, contacting agents, hate picking up the phone.
It's painful. I'm the same way.
And
you know what? And my wife will tell me, she'll be sitting in the next room and I'll be on the phone and she'll be like, "You're so good on the phone. I mean, you just so natural." And everything. Do you have any idea how my teeth are gnashing and the freaking nails are on the chalkboard when I'm doing this? You can't see it, but I'm afraid it's taking a toll on my blood pressure.
Right?
But
I swear
you can be good at it and still feel miserable doing it.
I've often thought of taking a portion of my own salary and pay for an ISA out of my own pocket. Even if it costs me $20 grand a year or $2,000 a month, because I know that's going to, one, take stress away from me. Two, probably turn that 24 grand into 100 grand.
Right. Right. And here, bring it full circle back to the aggregators.
Yeah.
How did they get all of our data? Told us, we're going to provide you leads. We're basically your inside sales agent.
If you had told
me,
if you had told, I think that, I've been doing this 25 years. If you had told me someday, a third party outside of the realtor organization would own our data, I would have said, you probably thought we put a man on the moon too, 25 years ago back then. I still don't believe we put a man on the moon, by the way.
That's right. What it was is that they didn't put a man on the moon, but it was all really a film.
Yeah.
But the actors were so into the method acting and making it real, they actually did it on location.
Oh God.
But I remember, again, back to my days in the phone company, and this is the 90s, so we were just getting into the digital age and the internet and stuff at the time. But they have a ton of data. They always had a ton of data. It was mostly green screen, IBM. But, they had, let's say, the phone company in this area at the time was Sprint. They had probably 100 years of data, but they had a mainframe that knew, every single one of the telephone lines out there and or data circuits and everything else, because phone companies have been doing data since the early 70s. Since like 1980, every call you've made has always been a data call. It hasn't been voice over IP because there wasn't internet protocol yet. But it was voice over frame, relay, it was some kind of packet switching. They didn't use circuit switching after 1980. So they had the technology, they had all this data, and they just were terrible at using it. So if you have a PRI circuit, if you buy a PRI circuit from me, it gives you 23 telephone lines. They don't each have their own unique number. You can have just one number pointing at 23 telephone lines, basically, that come into your premises, okay? So, and you get that for about the price of 10 telephone lines, okay? So, I said, as a salesperson, I want a printout of every business in my territory that has 10 or more telephone lines, because every one of them, I can sell them a PRI circuit, lower their cost,
And they'll have
and
twice as many.
I can make money. The company will pay me for it. Go figure.
Yeah.
So you know what? They couldn't scrub the data.
They couldn't get the data.
They couldn't get the data.
It was there. It was there.
They just didn't have the means to get it.
Right.
You know? Well, you got to give us an address. I'm talking about. I don't want an address. I want you to search by the number of phone lines.
Yeah.
I don't want to search by address.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Well, that's why, which is exactly Gary Keller's story about why it takes so long to sift through the data. Did you ever hear a speech about a room full of files, paper files?
No.
Here's his analogy. Imagine this room full of boxes and boxes of paper files, because that's basically where the data was at one time. And he says, I send you into that room and I say, I want you to find one thing. How long will that take you to find it? One thing that does this, and it might take you a year.
Right. Yeah.
And then you walk out of the room with that one piece of data, and he sends you back in the room. He says, okay, now I want you to go back into that room and find the second step of that one thing, because attached to this is the second thing. Now you're going to go find those two things that relate to that one thing. It'll take you 3 years. That's why it takes so long for these. This is Jim. Hey, Jim. You sneak away? You get to talk to me for a minute? Okay. I reached out to I reached out to Martin and Gene. I haven't heard back from him. And I have an offer ready for him.
We'll take a cookie break.
Do you think that could we put Dawn on a different compensation plan if she agreed to do training once a week and do one-on-ones in the office? Dominic, yeah, not Dawn. Dominic. Well, I was thinking, she didn't cap last year, and so reducing her cap in trade for her knowledge and skills isn't going to help her, because she's not going to cap anyways. But I was thinking, maybe what we can do is change the commission structure. Yeah, so she can, she makes a $5,000 check. She can put, $500 more in her pocket than she used to, something like that. Yeah, true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So, all right. She's coming. She is on the list, and she's excited about coming on July 31st to talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. All right, because I was spitballing with her, and I just didn't want to make a promise that I couldn't keep, because she's going to go home and talk to her husband about it. So, I just wanted to. There was something else I wanted to talk to you about. I don't know. All I know is Helen spent like $3,000 on plane tickets today. So, and.
What was the security system in the new office? That's what you wanted to talk about.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Oh, Jim, I know what I want to talk to you about. I want to depress you for a second. We're only projecting like $65,000 company dollar. Yeah. Yep. So, just, did I make your day? Yeah. Okay. Well, if I can think about what else I was going to tell you, I will. I won't bother you. All right. Go have a cold beer or something, will you? Oh, and I was talking, just so you know, I was talking to Lee Ann today about coming. She's still traveling from North Carolina herself. And I'm trying to get her to go, Lee Ann Walker, trying to get her to commit to going to Mega Camp. She's thinking about it.
Yeah. He knows that too.
All right? Yeah. Okay. Hey, bye. All right. Yep. Yep, will do. Thanks.
We'll be back in a moment.
Bye. That was Jim Quinn.
Yes. Fearless leader.
That was our fearless leader. Who's watching us, by the way? Do we know? What is this?
I don't think we know.
What is this product? What is this program?
That you'd have to ask Gianna.
Gianna, what is this program?
This was, it's up at the top, OBS.
Oh, everybody keeps talking about OBS. OV?
OBS.
OB?
B is just like old BS. Old
bullshit.
BS. Yeah. OBS, which is allowing us to stream and
Record.
Record at the same time.
And does it cost any money?
I don't think so. Which is the important part.
Ah.
You know you're off screen all the time, but that's all right. They can hear you.
Oh, they can't see me?
Gianna, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sure. I was watching on YouTube. That's the thing that makes the YouTube go live. If you click on the YouTube link, you can see the chat. It's just me right now.
Oh, really?
But I think Kelly tuned in for a minute, and a couple other people have tuned in a couple of times throughout. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can see it on the bottom there underneath the
Oh, there we go.
there.
So we just don't look like we're looking at each other.
Right.
I got you. Right now, on our laptop, it looks like it's just spinning.
It's just spinning.
But is yours? Is it showing up on yours?
It was. Now I'm on the phone with you, so I can't see because I'm in the car, so I don't have a Wi-Fi connection. But I was watching it a minute ago.
It still says live.
Spinning.
It's working, I promise.
Okay, cool.
Maybe if you refresh it, but yeah, it should be showing. If not, I promise I'm watching and not answering comments, which is just me, so.
Hey, someday people are going to be waiting in line to get here.
That's it,
That's it. We're starting the Wacky Sam and Dave show or something like that.
Let's get a set.
Well, I think last week I'd really like to see that too, but I know I saw the video that she posted and that was really great too, so I think having some more content like that is going to really help, so.
Who posted the video?
Kate, yeah, she has her video about open houses.
Oh, yeah, that one, yes.
Yeah, so hopefully keep doing that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Why does the camera at 10 pounds?
The cookie's at 15 pounds.
Like, I don't know that, I don't think I have a belly, but when I look at the camera, I have a belly.
I know I have a belly. But around 4 o'clock, it's like, hey, screw this.
Well, I didn't eat lunch till like on my way over here. You know?
And by the way, if anybody's watching us from Punta Gorda, thanks for the check.
Yeah, thanks. If anybody's watching, if any of the staff down in Punta Gorda is watching, just know that I asked twice if there was anything to bring back to Port Charlotte.
In fact, Jim was talking about Company Dollar. At least 2,000 of those Company Dollar came from that sale that I don't have my check for. So.
That you don't have checks for, so we're gonna keep it.
It's on 4-1, because if you figure there's 170 agents, $65,000, and I put in 2,000 of that 65,000.
Yeah, that's not good, guys. Let's talk about Company Dollar. You want to talk about Company Dollar? Company Dollar is the company, your portion of your commissions that we collect if you're not capped. So if you're paying us 30%, some of you are paying 20%, some of you are paying 24%. If you're not capped, that is. And this month, I know it's only July, 18th? But we're shy of $70,000 in Company Dollar.
Gotta do some closings, gotta get a few more people closer to cap.
Now, if that all went to profit share and own a profit, that'd be fantastic. But you got to remember, there's about $58,000 in expenses that come off of that.
Now, what did the agency do as a whole in terms of total gross commission? You know?
No, I don't know that number yet. So the things I report, the things that Helen and I talk about every day are company dollar, because we know our expenses are about 55 to 58 a month, so we know what our profit's going to be.
Right. But here's the point that I was going to go to is that if the gross commission that's coming in is all coming from people who have already capped,
that's the problem.
You can tell because the company dollar is low, even though the commissions are high.
Yep.
So what we need to do is get those people into production who are not the people that obviously the people that have already capped don't need any help.
We give them help, but they don't need it.
Mm-hmm. And we need to get those of you who are not capping
to generate commissions for yourselves
and
company dollar for.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win.
And that's one of the things that, you know, way before knowing anything about what was happening with technology or really understanding the real estate market at all, one of the things that drew me to Keller Williams was the fact that they had this cap set up. It wasn't so much that I was worried about, I don't want to be paying, or I don't want to be paying the company after a certain point, or I'm going to be giving them too much money. Although that's nice. It's nice to make 100%. Yeah. I found that from a standpoint of a social organization, from the culture of the organization, the people who are on top in most agencies are the ones who get all the attention.
Yep.
In this organization, all you have to do is cap. Since the company's not making any more money off of you,
everybody's equal.
Everybody's equal from that point, and all the money that comes in at that point is from the people who haven't capped yet. So they're the ones that the agency is incented to help, as opposed to other agencies who are always incented to help the rainmakers.
It's an interesting system too. Think about that. If we collect, so the 30% that we collect, or the 20% that we collect, or the 24% that we collect, whatever it is that we collect, up to $18,000, goes into a depository that after our expenses are paid, we give it all back. We give it all back to the agents and to the investors. Now, the only ones that get it back are the ones like you, because you posted your profit share of $98. Was it $98?
$98.
What are you going to do with all that?
Bought a new suit.
You can buy one, a $99 suit at Men's Warehouse.
Of course.
You have to borrow $1 from somebody.
The kid that made it, $8 a year. Poor bastards.
But I think about...
I'll buy the Italian suit.
I think about that because I ran my own brokerage, right? For many, many years, I ran my own brokerage. And every one of my agents, I collected 40% from those agents on every transaction. No cap. And I had some agents make over $100,000 a year. So I collected 40% and didn't give any of it back like we did.
Right.
That was all mine.
And if you were looking at your expenses and you had an agent that was bringing you, like you said, you had agents making over $100,000 a year. So if you had an agent who was bringing you $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, as opposed to one that was bringing you $10,000 a year, and it came time to spend some of your resources, where did you want to spend your money?
On the agent that gave me the
biggest amount.
Right. Like back to what you were saying, full circle was, but this is a company that
spends its resources on those.
You're reinvesting other people's money into the agents that aren't capping to get them to cap.
So this company invests money in order to get people who are building their business,
Yes.
not just the high achievers.
So for those of you listening, I think we have 172 agents. Anybody can see that? I think we have 172 agents, and I believe we have 35 cappers. So those 35 cappers are the ones that allow us to have, on paper, they allow us to have a profit each month. But when they've capped, it goes back to how important the other 135 agents are. They're very important, and that's why I tell people when I'm talking to candidates, we talk about this $18,000 company dollar contribution cap, and they say, well, what if I only pay you 10, not the 18? Do I owe you 8? And I go, no, because that's on us. That's on us to get you to 18, not on you.
What about, now I got a call the other day from a Redfin agent.
Yes.
First of all, are they agents? So they have to be licensed agents even though they're just house showers?
They have to be licensed agents even though they're employees of Redfin.
Okay, and they're employees and Redfin is their broker as well?
Yep.
Okay. Riddle me this.
Riddle me this.
Any idea what their compensation plan looks like? Are those people salaried? Are they, do they have any kind of commission structure?
I believe they get 1%. So if the buyer's agent co-broke fee is 3%, I believe what they get is 1%. Now there may be a weekly salary too, or bi-monthly salary there too, but I believe they go into that system going, I know I'm getting somewhat of a paycheck, but I get 1% of every commission.
And they don't go out and get their own leads.
They don't go out and
it's strictly getting fed. Whatever. This person has a showing, go and show it.
Yep.
They're Uber drivers.
Yep.
For buyers.
Yeah, because the company is investing the 2% that they're not paying them into ISAs, drip campaigns, SEO, whatever.
And if you get
technology,
if you get 3 leads this week, you get 3 leads this week. If you only get 1 lead this week, tough. Yeah. You can't go out and make money.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's how it works. I don't know anybody that works for Redfin. I would love to sit with a Redfin agent and just see what that is all about, why they do it. One, probably because they're new and they don't have a lot of confidence themselves to go out there and.
The one that I talked to, yeah, he was petrified to talk to.
Yeah, yeah.
I could just tell.
Yeah.
He wanted to get off the phone as fast as possible.
Yeah. And now, I mean, with their acquisition, Redfin's acquisition of OfferPad, it's a race. It's a race for Zillow and Redfin to who is going to be the largest real estate company in the world. They have systems and models. Let's be honest, we're copying it. Our RDX search engine on our platform, I'll tell you right now, if you looked at it side by side with Redfin, it's almost exactly alike because it's a great platform. The consumer loves it. The consumer loves it. And that's what we're building this platform for the consumer.
Yeah, well, people love to be able to look at that stuff. It's just like Amazon. You love to be able to look at the stuff online without having to go to the store. Yep. But at a certain point, you gotta try the shoes on because you can't send houses back after you buy them and they don't work.
Yeah, this is why you can, and not to scare even our own agents, but I mean, there's going to be a lot less of us very soon. A lot less of us, and the ones that are going to survive are the ones that have a book of business that they do want to protect, and they're enabling technology. They're tech-enabled agents.
Mm-hmm. Plus, they're still providing
the
service,
the human touch,
and doing it well. And there are an awful lot of agents. Let's face it, we run into them all the time that do not do a good job taking care of the follow-up, the human touch, smoothing things out for people. And I think
so we have to.
Part of this process is smoothing things out for people who don't feel like they know what they're doing. I mean, you can probably buy it, I think you can buy it, diamonds online, I'm sure you
Yeah,
can, right?
you can.
I'm scared to death to buy jewelry from anybody because I don't know anything about jewelry.
I know.
When I bought my wife's wedding ring, I literally went to the fellow, and thank God I still recommend him today. It's Infinity Jewelry, poor Charlie.
Where's the
Shameless
camera?
plug.
Is there a camera? That was a plug. That was how you went.
Shameless plug. This guy sat down and said, "Let me explain to you how diamonds are valued." And he sat down and he gave me the 3 C's and
Yeah.
and explained it to me. And afterwards, I felt like, all right, now I can at least be pretty sure I'm not getting something out of a bubblegum machine when I buy this diamond. And I think a lot of people are looking. That's what they're looking for in a real estate agent is, okay, take the mystery out of this for me. You know, when something comes up, I'm not going to be in a panic because I don't know what the hell to do.
It's true.
And I'm not sure that Zillow and Redfin and Trulia are going to be able to fill that gap. The trick is, if we don't fill that gap, then there's not going to be any difference.
Well, yeah, and through technology, Zillow and Redfin have become very, very good at building relationships behind a computer screen. The only thing they can't do is come out of the screen, which is what we do. We come out of the computer and help them, right? Until they can do that, the agent's always going to have the advantage, but we have to continue to build those relationships because Zillow is almost putting these people into, Zillow and Redfin are almost putting these people into a trance with the information that they give the consumer, because the consumer loves the platform that they're on, right? The consumer loves that. So they're getting enticed, and they're almost like poltergeists being pulled into the TV. And if they could, they would.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. They're making it basically a Facebook experience.
Yeah.
On in a transaction.
Yeah.
And they're addictive transactions. Now the trick is actually doing the transaction. When Zillow and Redfin get to that point, also, what's the real cost to the consumer? If they're able to do it for half the price that they could do it with a realtor, there's always going to be somebody attracted to a lower commission, because that's what people are currently, they're always trying to jack our conditions down.
Yeah.
But is that really what the experience is? Because I've heard that it ends up being around 8 or 9% is what the seller ends up paying when they do a transaction with one of these companies.
Oh yeah, they're not doing it for free. The adage of doing more for less, that's not what they're doing. They're not doing more for less. They're getting it one way or the other. And you're right. I wouldn't know what the real number is, but I'm sure it's more than 6% or 3% or whatever it is that these guys are getting. But it's efficient, but what they're doing is as Gary Keller would tell you, there are reasons why people don't leave Wells Fargo, because they love their app. Mm-hmm. There are reasons people don't leave Zillow is because they love the consumer experience, and our consumer app is about to compete, if not be better, will be better than both of those. The question, but still, we got to
get into enough people's hands.
If we got to get into enough people's hands, and we got to get them away from Zillow and Realtor. This is again, they're being
like
hypnotized.
There may be 5 platforms out there today that are better than Facebook.
Yeah.
But you'll never know about it because nobody will get off Facebook long enough to try.
Nobody will get off long enough to try. Or they'll just say, I've been on Facebook so long, I don't care what else comes. I don't care how good it is. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna change.
The last thing I think too is that from a regulatory standpoint, it's kind of interesting. I know the insurance business is always been regulated statewide. The real estate business has always been regulated by the states. It's never been put into a national system.
Mm-hmm.
So Florida has its own real estate law, and it's different from New York real estate law and Missouri real estate law. How is it and why is it that an aggregator can consider doing business
With no
office in each state, or do they just rent an empty building and say we're in this state and apply for a license as a broker?
It's a great question.
You know, how do they get that past the state?
Why do they not have to play by the rules?
All right. Why is the Florida Real Estate Commission okay with this?
There's got to be a simple answer, John. I don't know what it is, but think about it.
We'll do that.
Why do they get a hall pass?
I used to wonder why, for instance, Alice and James, I guess they have a broker of record somewhere in Florida that is hanging up in Orlando or something. But how does Redfin do that? So that'd be something.
There's got to be a broker of record somewhere, right? But that reminds me of something else. I was talking to one of our agents today about ISAs, inside sales agents, and whether they should be licensed or unlicensed. Well, if they're going to be talking shop, then they have to be licensed. If they're just dialing for appointments, then the argument is that they don't have to be licensed. Here's the real question. With Zillow and Realtor.com with their own conversion call center, concierge, whatever you want to call it, Zillow Premier and Realtor.com's got Opcity. They're inside sales agents, the people that are beating the phones. They're certainly not licensed.
Right.
Are they talking shop with the consumer? Why is it okay for them to talk shop with the consumer?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not us,
and
who aren't licensed?
If an unlicensed friend of yours brings you a referral, how do you compensate them? Are you allowed to compensate them? No. So why would an unlicensed person be allowed to be compensated as a concierge giving me a lead?
I don't know.
It seems we need to get Morgan & Morgan in on this.
Yeah, we're being criticized and scrutinized.
Right.
And
for doing,
you got to maintain your license and get your credits and yada yada yada. But yet there's buildings full of tens of thousands of square footage of space with unlicensed people, most likely talking real estate shop.
Now, if I call, and again, this is federally regulated, and so, but if I call Fidelity, for instance, and say I want to buy 500 shares of a mutual fund that tracks the S&P 500, the guy I'm talking to on the phone is a licensed Series 7 broker.
Yeah.
They have to be licensed to be on the phone with you.
Are we missing something? We can't be the first guys that thought about this.
Oh, I'm sure there's big payola someplace.
Oh, yeah.
That's making sure that the legislature gives them a pass. Good questions for our local MLS people won't know anything about it. Well,
who can we ask? Because I want to know more about that.
I think we'll do a class on that. Thanks for tuning in.
I want to know more about that.